Toto Wolff has talked about Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes after just 3 more races, and what the Austrian team boss said really surprised Formula One fans. The Mercedes team leader actually felt relieved that Hamilton chose to leave on his own instead of the team having to tell him to go. But this makes us wonder, did Mercedes lose trust in Hamilton after what happened in 2021? And if so, is this the wrong choice for the team? It's clear that Mercedes and Hamilton saying goodbye at the end of 2024 will be one of the saddest moments in racing. Like people say, all good things have to end sometime. But when it comes to Mercedes, it doesn't seem like the team is too worried about losing such a famous driver. What's even more surprising is that they don't seem to care that Hamilton is going to their biggest enemy, Ferrari. Actually, Wolff was happy that Hamilton decided to leave first because it saved him from doing the hard job of telling Hamilton that they didn't want him anymore starting in 2025. This shows even more disrespect toward Hamilton than we've seen since 2022 when the new car rules started. This is something we need to talk about more often. Does Hamilton deserve to be treated this way right now? After all, he won 6 driver championships for the team and was the main reason behind the 8 constructor championships that Mercedes has won since the turbo hybrid era began. So Wolff's words are definitely worrying. When talking about Hamilton leaving, the Austrian said that Hamilton announcing he would go to Ferrari really helped them because it avoided the moment where they would need to tell the sport's most famous driver that they wanted to stop working with him. Wolff said he absolutely had it on his mind that Lewis would leave. He just couldn't understand why Hamilton would change to another team before they knew if Mercedes was going to be fast again. It also didn't give Wolff any time to think about what to do next. He had to quickly call their partners, and he possibly missed out on talking to other drivers who had already signed contracts a few weeks earlier, like Leclerc and Norris. But Wolff likes the situation they're in now. There is one thing that Wolff is definitely right about. Hamilton's move didn't give Mercedes enough time to think about who would replace him. Obviously, this might come back to hurt them because they had to do something very risky that might not work as expected, promoting young Antonelli straight to Formula One. The plan for Kimi was always to race in Formula One, but definitely not like this. However, with Wolff admitting that he knew Hamilton would leave them at some point, he's also to blame because he knew very well that the engineers didn't listen to the 7-time world champion's advice and liked Russell's ideas about the car better. You just don't treat a champion as big as Lewis like that, whether you're a fan of him or not. To see how much Ferrari has put into getting Hamilton just shows that they know that even though he's almost 40 years old, Lewis is the man who can bring them another championship starting in 2025, maybe even on his first try. Even though right now Leclerc is their #1 driver, Hamilton has hinted that he can't wait for the last 3 races to end and for his time with Mercedes to be over. Besides that, the British driver has always had trouble with his car's setup and has constantly seen last-minute changes that always ruined his speed during races. With Russell, these problems happen very rarely. And that's why people in the paddock have started saying that the special treatment Russell gets was always going to happen in 2024. Hamilton's announcement came before he could even test the W15 car, and this unfair treatment will make the goodbye tour between Mercedes and Hamilton bitter. On top of that, we can't forget that Mercedes blocked Hamilton's move to Ferrari right after the season ended in Abu Dhabi. This shows that they have a lot of duties they have to handle with him in a polite way and want to respect every single one of them. Wolff has also said that he knew some information about Hamilton possibly leaving the team from Carlos Sainz's father, the man who saw his son being replaced by the 7-time world champion starting in 2025. While this is the most awkward situation you could find yourself in, it still gave Wolff a bit of time to react properly and avoid the angry response they got as a team. When talking about it, Wolff said he heard the warning signs 2 weeks before. The old man Sainz called him up and said this is what is happening. Then there were a few other drivers' dads who called him who didn't call before, so he thought, okay, something is going on there. Then he sent a text to Vassar saying, "You're taking our driver." He didn't get any response, which was very unusual for Fred because he is a good friend. So, yeah, Wolff saw it coming, but in this sport, everything is business. And Wolff has shown that through his words as he focuses on the team's future. This was the number one reason why the contract with Hamilton was signed as a 1+1 deal. Furthermore, Wolff said there is a reason why they only signed a 1+1 year contract. They're in a sport where being mentally sharp is extremely important, and he believes everyone has a time limit. So he needs to look at the next generation of drivers. It's the same in football. Managers like Ferguson or Guardiola saw how their top stars would perform and brought in younger players that drove the team for the next few years. They're grown-ups, and they know that by signing a short-term contract, they would only keep Hamilton for 2024 and leave the door open for 2025 for him to leave. But they also knew it could help both sides. They couldn't promise a longer contract, and he took the option to leave. They totally respect that you can change your mind. There are different situations. Switching to Ferrari maybe for the last big job in his career, maybe taking a risk. Wolff can understand that decision. Truth be told, Russell being the leader of the team is something we'd have to see first before believing it. Even with the bad races that Hamilton has had in 2024, combined with the poor car setups and being used as a test subject, he has just been beaten by his younger teammate after the Brazilian Grand Prix. Yes, Russell has a lot of talent, but if you're going against a young fighter like Antonelli, who doesn't want to stop for anyone and has that Verstappen feeling about him, then there's a huge risk that you could get embarrassed. Mercedes might have to think twice about who will lead the team back to winning races and championships. There are many people wondering whether Hamilton is driving with passion right now, and the answer to that question would likely be no. The seven-time world champion himself said that he would much rather drive Senna's famous MP4 quarters car than the W15 in Interlagos. Also, after the race ended in Brazil, he told his race engineer Bono that if this is the last time they would race together, it's a shame it ended like this. This hints that he might just give up on the last 3 races because he's had enough of the car's behavior that he says is like driving a piece of wood without any suspension. One of the most controversial people in the sport right now, Johnny Herbert, has given his opinion on this whole situation. He said that Hamilton is a man who is very disappointed with what is going on at Mercedes right now, so the vacation period cannot come soon enough for him. Herbert also said Lewis Hamilton can't wait to get to Christmas. It is very confusing. There are times when he shows his real amazing speed and then it all disappears. How and why does that happen? That's what Herbert doesn't understand. The car goes up and down like a yo-yo anyway, and George has similar problems. Lewis is coming to the end of his time at Mercedes and George is the future. Antonelli is lined up for next season, so Mercedes will be helping George more, and a lot of the energy and ideas will be coming from him. With all this in mind, do you think that Hamilton was treated unfairly by Mercedes? And more importantly, do you think that Wolff regrets letting the British driver go even though his words suggest otherwise? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in the latest drama about Lance Stroll and Aston Martin regarding the Canadian driver's seat, check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.